Everybody, Red Zone DFS is back here for an early edition and week 3 preview. So I will jump right to it, rolling solo today. Let's hit it. Hopefully everybody had a good week too. This slate is looking to be interesting. There looks like to be a few matchups that we have some blowout potential here, boys and girls. So first game up, here on the slate, we have Chicago and Cleveland. Right now, it's sitting at a 46.5 over-under. Cleveland's the 7-point favorite. Look, Jarvis Landry just went on the IR. I don't have too much interest in this game outside of the running backs for Cleveland. Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb, both of those guys seem to get the majority of the workload. As far as pass catchers go, we'll see if Odell Beckham is back. But right now, Chicago is having a pretty good season. They got exposed a little bit on that first Monday night game, which is where people jumped off. They took care of business last week versus Joe Burrow. Look, I just think this is kind of a typical like run it out, ground it out game. I don't think this is a game that you're going to necessarily take down a GPP on. So for me, I'm interested in the running game a little bit here. Maybe some Austin Hooper, maybe some Odell Beckham based on pricing. But for me, I'm kind of skipping right over game number 1. Moving on to game number 2. Told you this is going to be quick. We have Washington at Buffalo. So right now, let's see. What's this game at? Buffalo is currently a 9-point favorite with a 45.5 over-under. You got Heineke going upstate New York. Buffalo just absolutely smoked Miami this past weekend. I'm under the belief, though, like once Tua went down, that team just fell into a shell, right? They gave up a few huge runs. That game was out of hand really quickly. Miami couldn't get anything going on offense. A little bit tough to evaluate. Look, Josh Allen is awesome. Stephon Diggs is awesome. I really like Emmanuel Sanders, Cole Beasley. But I'm just stuck here. Like, Washington is supposed to have a good defense. They have not looked the part so far to start the season. Buffalo's always stacking potential. I do have a little bit interest in them, but it's just tough to look at this game, right? They said there could be some weather concerns up there as well, which we'll have to monitor. But right now, Buffalo, a little bit of interest in the passing game. They may be a pretty good contrarian stack to look at early in the week, but keep an eye on it. Again, it's not something that's jumping off the page to me. So when you're starting to do your research, take a look at Buffalo. But their defense has been really good. I don't really have much interest in Washington. That's kind of where I'm sitting right now early in the week on game number 2 here. Going into game number 3. So we have a division matchup here with the Colts and the Titans. Looking at the spread, Tennessee is currently a 5.5-point favorite, 48 over under. A lot's going to come down to Mr. Roller Coaster himself, Mr. Injury prone Carson Wentz. He's apparently got not 1, but 2 sprained ankles heading into this week. Look, if Wentz doesn't play, this game's going to get ugly, I think. The Colts, again, decent defense, but I looked last year, they got, there was one Thursday night game that was a close game. I think it was 19-17 or something like that. But game number 2, Tennessee smacked them pretty good. Derrick Henry went for over 100 yards both times last year versus Indy. So I have moderate interest in Tennessee. Derrick Henry, I have a lot of interest in. My fear is he's going to be pretty chalky without Christian McCaffrey on the slate. And after last week's performance where he went for 50 DraftKings points at low ownership. So do not expect to see that again this week. But if you're looking at this game, Tannehill came alive a little bit easier when you're not facing Chandler Jones hitting you every other play. But Tennessee is something to look at. Carson Wentz doesn't play. I really don't have any interest in anybody over there. Jonathan Taylor is not getting the majority, or he's getting the majority, but not bell cow status running back touches over there. It's a pretty split backfield. I think it was 67-30. And then you had Hines and Mack mixing in last week. So there's not much to like on Indy, to be totally honest. I would love Michael Pittman if Wentz plays and he's healthy enough. But unless he can get out of the body cast and 2 sprained ankles, I'm not too sure that's somewhere I'm going to be looking to on Sunday. So keep an eye on it. This next game is sneaky for me. I want to see what the chalk's going to look like, but Atlanta at the New York Giants. So we saw Thursday night, Danny Dimes, I don't know. know. There might be something there with Danny Dimes. He looked pretty good against Washington. He's running all over the place. Saquon's getting healthier by the day. The weapons for New York actually look pretty solid, even though they don't have Evan Ingram yet. The Giants are currently a 3-point favorite and a 48 over-under. If it's going to be bad weather in New York, we need to keep an eye on it. But if it's all clear, it's all systems go, I kind of have interest on both sides of this game. Look, Atlanta's defense is terrible. They've gotten smoked the first 2 games of the season. And like I said, Danny Dimes looked pretty good. Kenny Golladay chewing out Jason Garrett, like all is right in the world. We'll see, if squeaky wheel gets the grease. But I have a little bit of interest in the Giants here, and I have interest in the other side of the game. Look, the Giants defense is nothing. They're not the 85 Bears, right? Matty Ice threw for 300 last week against Tampa trailing, which he's going to be doing pretty much every week this season, I think. The Giants have surrendered a 75% completion rate to start the season. I have interest in this game. Atlanta and New York is one that's on my radar. Mark it down. Going to the next game, we got the Chargers going to the Chiefs, another division matchup. These teams know each other really well. Right now, Kansas City is a 6.5-point favorite with a 55.5 over under. So, I mean, let's just get to it. Like the Chiefs, they're always in play, right? They're always explosive. If you're going into any week scratching them off your list, you're doing it wrong. The best offense in the NFL. I'm pretty confident in saying that, or at least one of the most explosive in the NFL, especially with Clyde now in the doghouse. My guess is Mahomes is going to throw a lot on Sunday. Kelsey and Tyreek are always in play, but this Chargers defense is no joke, man. They just shut down Dak out in Dallas with that explosive offense. I need to look into this a little bit more. This is a game that I will have my eye on. This is a game that absolutely could blow the top off of the whole slate. We could see a huge over-under here. I mean, I'm talking 70-plus points if all goes to plan. But the Chargers defense gives me a little bit of hesitation. Not that Mahomes and them won't get theirs, but can they hit ceiling game for their price tag? So the Chargers side of the game I like as well. We just saw Kansas City get gashed a little bit by Baltimore. This game's interesting. Is it my favorite? I'm not sure, but one to keep an eye on, definitely. Next, we go to Pittsburgh, where Cincinnati will be visiting. Pittsburgh's only a 3.5-point favorite versus the Bengals in a low 43.5 over-under. Look, Burrow had one of his worst games as a pro last week, which sucked because I played a lot of them. His receivers did okay, 10, 15 points, a few of them, or actually all 3 of them. But he threw multiple interceptions. He just quite couldn't get it going versus Chicago, who bounced back. I'm unsure on this one. I'm going to look into this one a little bit more. I don't have much interest in Pittsburgh, although, Big Ben looks pretty shot, to be honest. Their offensive line has not been opening holes for Najee Harris. I don't think he's a bust by any means. People are writing him off. I think it's more of an offensive line issue. And we'll see if Deontay Johnson is playing this week with a hurt knee. If he's out, I have a little bit of interest because those target shares are going to get more concentrated with Juju and Claypool. And Cincinnati's defensive backs are not any good, but Cincinnati, the Raiders just went in there and tore them up. So I want to look at that game a little bit more. After last week, Burrow should be next to nothing owned, and he's cheap. So the Bengals side I have a little bit of interest on. That could be a sneaky one where you go Cincinnati and bring it back with 2 Steelers weapons as a game stack. So I know there's a low total on this game, but you never know. I'm not writing that one off either. Baltimore, Detroit. Look, Detroit's been keeping it close for the first half of games, or in the Niners' case, the second half and not the first. They've got some fight in them. They've got a little bit of talent. They're going to be at home. Lamar and them are coming off of a big win, emotional win. My only fear is Lamar is expensive. Is he going to be running the ball? It's going to depend on game flow. If they're up big, he's not going to be running, which means his upside is limited. If Detroit can keep this thing close, and Baltimore's defense we saw is not what it used to be, missing some guys, Lamar could be an amazing play here. He is one of the most electric players in the league, but I have my concerns that the Detroit magic will wear off and, they'll turn back into pumpkins here pretty quickly. So I don't know. You have to have some interest in Baltimore, but I don't know if it's my favorite. They're currently an 8-point favorite on the road with a 49.5 over under. So Going to the next game, New Orleans and New England. Look, I'll be honest. I don't really have a lot of interest here. I think Belichick is smart enough facing Jameis. They're going to do everything in their power to hold Alvin Kamara like Carolina did last week. They are not going to let Kamara beat him, which means Jameis is going to be hucking and chucking. If you believe in Jameis, this is your game. He's going to have to throw it a lot because I have a feeling they're going to load up the box on Kamara and double him when he's in the slot and whatnot and bracket him. But it's just not my favorite. Patriots offense, we know what they are. They're going to try to control the clock, shorten games, play defense, and win. That's what they do. So I don't have a whole lot of interest here. Let's see. What's the number on that game? New England's a 3-point favorite, 41.5 over under. So Vegas seems to think very similar to me. Next up, we have the game that everyone's going to be targeting or at least talking about. We have Arizona going to Jacksonville. So this is going to be just the game of the week, right? In terms of like, are you playing it? Are you fading it? Are you going full game stacks? How much are you going to have of it? Are you just going to have pieces? Kyler Murray is freaking unbelievable. 34 and 38 points on DraftKings to start the year. My biggest question with them is price, chalk, and is this thing just a blowout? Is the first quarter over and Kyler's throwing for 3 touchdowns and 200 yards, and maybe Arizona gets a defensive touchdown in there, and it's 28-0 at half. If that's the case, like, are we going to see them try to throw up 50? I mean, Kingsbury does come from college, but I don't know. I mean, my biggest fear is this thing a blowout and this game's over at halftime, college style. Jacksonville looks terrible. They're not going to be able to hang with Arizona. It's just a matter of how long can they hang. So I don't know. Fade at your own risk, I guess, but if you don't have Arizona in your player pool this week or your stack pool, best of luck to you. And you are a brave person. Arizona is a 7.5-point favorite on the road, which is a little bit lower than I thought it would be, and a 52 over under. So Cardinals are going to just jack them up. Next up, Jets and Denver. So to start it here, Denver's a 10.5-point favorite with a 41 over under. Denver's defense looks good. New York has to go 2 Mile High, which is always a tough place to play. Geez, Zach Wilson, what do you have, 4 interceptions on Sunday? Not the matchup that you want to be going into following New England here. So that's why the point spread is so big. The Jets defense, okay. Denver's offense, okay. But I just think this is a no-win situation for the Jets. They should get rolled here. But again, Denver's a team with Fangio. Like, if they get up, 2-3 touchdowns, they're going to throttle down. I don't think they're a team that's going to try to put up 40, 50 points. And I just don't see how the Jets really keep it close, to be totally honest. So, okay, obviously, like every game to sprinkle in your favorites, but not a game that we should be looking at to stack necessarily, in my opinion. Next up, Miami and Vegas. So we don't have a points total on this game yet. I think they're waiting to see what's going to go on with Tua. Carr is banged up. Jacobs is banged up. But, man, the Raiders look freaking pretty explosive to start the year. They just went into Pittsburgh and housed them, which is not something they normally have done. Waller looks all the part of an elite, just top-notch player and pass catcher in this league. Derek Carr is finally in his career pushing the ball down the field, and Ruggs showing off why he was a top 15 pick, right? Dude is lightning fast. It's twice now that he has caught deep balls. Look, Miami's defensive backs are solid. But if they don't have a running game with Josh Jacobs, like, Gruden's not dumb. Like, he's going to continue to pass the ball. So it's cheap. It's cheap on DraftKings. I had a buddy who took down a GPP last week with the Raiders. I don't know how he knew that was going to happen, but I think teams are going to keep sleeping on these guys. So keep an eye on them. If they're going to be lower owned, like, I have no problem going to the Raiders again. Again, it's a cheaper stack, and you can easily fit in guys like Henry or some of the big receivers with those players. So yeah, Miami and Vegas. I have no interest in Miami, by the way. I don't think Tua is going to play. Looks like he's going to be out for a few weeks. Jacoby Brissett looked terrible. The whole Dolphins offense just looked terrible, which sucks because Will Fuller's coming back. Jalen Waddle's there. Like, man, I don't know what's going on there, but not a situation I want to be a part of. Next up, these last two games are probably my favorite on the day. We have Tampa Bay coming to Los Angeles and playing the Rams. So that game is right now sitting at a 55 over under. Tampa Bay is a 1.5 point favorite, which is interesting on the road. Whatever Tom Brady does to stay young, try it, right? He's only getting better. 50 years old, almost. The guy looks better than he ever has. I think I saw a stat that he has more touchdowns in his 40s than he did in his 20s. That blew my mind. I don't know if that's true, but I saw it and almost fell out of my chair. So, look, the Rams have a good defense, solid defense. So does Tampa, but I think both of these offenses are going to score no matter who they play. Both sides of the ball, right? There's multiple weapons. Cooper Kupp looks like, an all-pro to start the year. Higbee had a down game last week, but Robert Woods is still there. And then on the other side of the ball, you've got, Brown and Godwin and Evans and Gronk. Like, this game has all the weapons you can ask for, and both teams don't really have a great running game. Good front sevens on both sides of the ball. So if you like passing, this is probably the game you should tune into on Sunday. So love the Tampa Bay Rams game. And then what's possibly my favorite game, I'm just going to continue to play Minnesota. Look, they have a really bad defense. They were missing some guys. I'll give them that. But they are going to go into games this year. They have a good passing attack and running attack. Dalvin Cook's legit if he can just stay healthy. But Minnesota, they're just going to be in constant shootouts. Their defense is bad. They throw the ball a lot themselves. Like, they're just a team I'm going to play a lot of in DFS. So Minnesota is currently a 2-point dog at home to Seattle with a 55.5 over-under as well. Russ is cooking with Lockett just catching Hail Mary bombs left and right every time I turn on the TV. DK Metcalf hasn't even gotten going yet. He had 11 targets last week. What I like about both of these games for the most part is they're pretty concentrated stacks, right? Like, where to go with Minnesota, although Osborne is making a case to be, another weapon here. But for Seattle, it's like there's two guys. It's Lockett and DK. If you're going to play it, just play it. Like, it's not a big deal. So, Seattle and the Vikings are one of my favorite games of the day, of the weekend coming up. So that's kind of it. A quick early preview of Vince's thoughts on the NFL slate week 3. We'll have a ton of content for you guys coming out this week. NFL, college football, articles, videos, podcasts. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe and drop us a comment, a review, whatever you think. If you like us, if you think we suck, all is welcome. And until next